Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now, your host, Tim Johnson.
Methanex is the world's largest supplier of methanol to major international markets in North America, Asia Pacific, Europe, and Latin America. This global company is in the process of relocating two world-scale methanol plants from Chile to Geismar, Louisiana. The project will exceed $1 billion and will create 165 permanent Methanex jobs and more than 1,200 indirect jobs in our economy. Glynn Fontenot, Louisiana native and Methanex Geismar plant manager, joins me when we return on the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Joe Martin, president of ITI Technical College. Do you want a better life?
Get your associate's degree in occupational studies in information technology from ITI. In 2 years, you'll be on your way to a better life. You will get hands-on specialized training in computers, hardware and software, networking, and more. ITI offers flexible class schedules, and financial aid is available to those who qualify.
So don't wait. Call ITI now or go online. It's that simple.
ITI for a better life.
I'm Leighton Ricks, Livingston Parish, and Livingston Parish is on the move. One of the primary things that we ran on was developing business and jobs in Livingston Parish for our people so that we can bring obviously additional revenue to be able to support our infrastructure needs. We're going to continue to progress here in Livingston Parish. When everybody comes together, these kind of things happen. I mean, what can you say? It's absolutely awesome. It's the perfect place to be. It's where you want to be today, I can guarantee you that.
Hi, I'm Lee Burkeen with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week where we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. I'm very pleased to be joined by a good friend of mine, actually a guy that I grew up close to in Evangeline Parish. He's a Ville Platte native. I grew up in a little place called Pine Prairie, both in Evangeline Parish. Glynn Fontenot, the plant manager of Methanex, joins us. Glynn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Global corporation, right? Methanex is huge and made the decision to locate a facility here. But before we get into the relocation of the two plants from Chile to Geismar, tell us about Methanex. Give us an overview of what the corporation looks like.
Yeah, but Tim, Methanex is a company that's maybe not too well known around here, but they're very well known, particularly in the methanol industry. Methanex is the world leader in production and sales of methanol across the world. We're a Canadian company headquartered in Vancouver in British Columbia, and we have really our market is all over the world, not just North America. We have plants in 5 different regions across the world. We have a plant in New Zealand, in Egypt, in Canada, Medicine Hat, Canada, in Trinidad, and a plant in Chile. So the plants here will be our 6th manufacturing location.
It's a pretty big operation, obviously, a lot of employees, a lot of revenue, very important part of the methanol business around the world.
That's right.
So if you think about it, now obviously, you know, we know that low natural gas prices are driving a lot of the economic development we're seeing in Louisiana. Good business climate coupled with low natural gas prices, sort of a resurgence and a renaissance in what's going on in our state. But walk us through the decision-making process, Glynn. How does a company like Methanex make the decision to dismantle these 2 major facilities, world-scale methanol plants in Chile, put them on boats and bring them to Geismar, Louisiana, where you're putting them back together?
Yeah. Well, the criteria that our company has for selecting a place to do business is, first of all, natural gas has to be readily available, and it has to be competitively priced. And then it has to be in a region that has a very good infrastructure to do business, a good stable government, a good workforce.
Good tax policy, regulatory policy. All
Absolutely, and where it's a good place to do business, and we're very fortunate. We are all very fortunate, particularly me and the rest of my team, that Methanex did this evaluation. Literally looked all over the world, as you can tell where our other plants are located, and after that evaluation across the globe, selected Geismar, Louisiana, of all places, and we're very fortunate. I think we take for granted a lot of the things that we have here. I talked about that first criteria being availability of natural gas. Probably just you and I, Tim, driving to this studio, drove alongside and over many natural gas pipelines getting here. And it's not the case in other parts of the world. It's not even the case in other parts of the United States. So that is very, very beneficial for our region here to attract these kinds of companies and these types of businesses. And we're very fortunate to have been selected, and I was very fortunate to be selected to be a part of the team.
Well, I've known you for a long, long time. I know your history in the industry, very successful career with Georgia Gulf and other facilities. And so, from my perspective, obviously Methanex made the right choice. But let's talk about that, Glenn, because I mentioned when I introduced you that you are a Louisiana native. Ville Platte, Louisiana, small town guy, Evangeline Parish. I grew up 15 miles from where you grew up. We knew each other dating back all the way to high school days. And it's interesting that you have all these global corporations that are located here in Louisiana, and they're growing here and they're expanding here. And oftentimes you see individuals brought in from other parts of the country and other parts of the world to lead these plants. Great people like Eduardo Duval at Dow. But for you as a Louisiana native to be able to lead an operation like this in your home state, be part of this renaissance in economic development, it's got to be personally rewarding to you.
Oh, it sure is. I think each of us at some point in our careers, we kind of daydream a little bit about what would be the perfect job, and I've done some of that daydreaming, and I've dreamed that maybe my employer would go and buy some piece of property, a cow pasture somewhere, and choose me to head up hiring the entire staff and building the organization and putting in the type of culture that I think can be effective. And I heard about this Methanex project coming. I think everybody in our industry, was paying attention to it, and came to the assumption that certainly the biggest methanol producer in the world probably has a lot of very seasoned, talented managers that they could bring over to lead the organization. But that's not the model that Methanex has. They really want to have someone, if at all possible, that's local, that knows how we do business here, knows the contractors, understands the regulatory environment that we live in here. And again, I was approached to consider joining the team, and I feel very blessed and fortunate to have been selected to lead the team.
Well, as I mentioned, I know Methanex made the right decision now, but we've got about 2 minutes left in this segment. Let's talk about the process of dismantling a major manufacturing facility in one country, literally putting it on ships, shipping it to Geismar, Louisiana, taking it off the ships and reconstructing it. I know you're well underway with the first plant, certainly, but give us an idea of what that whole process is like.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's really 4 phases. It's a dismantling that we have to do in a very orderly, well-designed manner so that it can be put back together very efficiently. So it's taking the plant apart in very large modules. We then put it onto these specialized ships that can transport big pieces of equipment like offshore oil and gas rigs. Transport the equipment. It's 7,500 miles from Punta Arenas, Chile, which is the very southern tip of South America.
How about
so
that?
The voyage is around the Atlantic Ocean.
It's a month.
It's 1 month, right at 1 month, one way from Punta Arenas to Geismar. So into the mouth of the Mississippi River, 60 miles of river, the twists and turns of the river under 5 bridges, and then to a temporary bridge that we've constructed. It spans the levee and River Road and then lands onto our property right there in Geismar at Highway 73. and then the equipment is brought onto the plant site and put in place.
And you're starting to rebuild them now, right?
That's correct.
Now, what about the second facility? Has it been dismantled and shipped this way? What's the status of that?
Yeah, we're in the very early stages of that. The dismantling is well underway on the second plant in Chile. And in fact, the equipment was just loaded onto the first shipment, and that ship is headed our way.
Well, I want to take a break, but I want to come back and talk about the construction process, the total capital investment, how many construction workers are out there, what that process has been like for you. We're visiting with Glynn Fontenot. He's the plant manager of Methanex Geismar, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.
The Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
I go to work every day, and I love doing what I'm doing, and I love being a part of Livingston Parish, and to be elected sheriff, to be able to lead Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office is just such an honor for me. And so I'm very excited about not only where we're at today, but where we're going to be at in the future. The parish is so special to the citizens. They work with the Sheriff's Office, they trust the Sheriff's Office. Our community stands behind us 100%, and they get involved. They don't want crime in Livingston Parish.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the Grand Slam hitter to grandparents. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Hello, I'm Eric Edwards with the Livingston Parish Convention and Visitors Bureau. Find out now what's going on in Livingston Parish. We have over 400 nautical miles of waterways. Tee it up at our great world-renowned golf courses. Shop at our antique districts, or come to Bass Pro, our #1 retailer. There's a lot to do in Livingston Parish that you never imagined. It's all happening right here in Livingston Parish. For more information, go online at visitlivingstonparish.com.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the three-point shooter to the three-piece suit. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're having a really good conversation with Glynn Fontenot, who is the plant manager of Methanex Geismar, a world-scale methanol facility that was dismantled in Chile, put on ships, brought to Geismar, Louisiana, and rebuilding it. And it's interesting, Glynn, you and I were talking during the break about the culture of Louisiana, and we mentioned it in the first segment. We talk about it all the time on this television show. We talk about it all the time on the radio show. But Louisiana really is a unique and special place. There aren't many places like this around the world, certainly not in the United States, in terms of the culture and our joy of life and all the things we do. Ville Platte guy knows that better than anybody, right? But you mentioned, and I want you to elaborate a little bit more on the links that Methanex goes to incorporate itself into the local culture and be a local company and hire local people. You talked about them looking for a local manager here as part of their business model, but talk about the culture and some of the things you guys are doing.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate, as I mentioned, the infrastructure, which includes people, and we're up to 82 employees that are going to be part of the permanent manufacturing organization, and all but 3 of those have not changed addresses.
How about that?
They're all local people here, mostly in Ascension Parish, East Baton
That's a
Rouge.
unique way to look at it, right? 82 people, and all but 3 of them didn't have to move to go to work for Methanex, right? Didn't have to change their address.
That's right. And another thing I was thinking about, I attended a conference here a couple of weeks ago. The #1 state in the country that has the highest retention of its citizens is Louisiana, with 68%.
That's great.
So I think you and I are very much living evidence of that, being from here in Louisiana and raising our families here. But yeah, it's very important to Methanex, as I mentioned, not only hiring the staff, but really understanding the culture and becoming absorbed in it. We've had visitors from every one of those sites that I mentioned, from New Zealand, from Egypt, from Trinidad. I've been to all of those sites so far, except for the New Zealand plant, and I'll be there later this year. And even our executive leadership team has visited the plant multiple times. Our CEO, his name is John Florin. John is Canadian, and he's located at our Vancouver office. he's been very fortunate in the last 6 months. He's been able to participate in our two biggest South Louisiana festivals. You know, I think we had a tailgate event for last October when LSU whipped Florida, and that was an all-day event with an RV, and John was in the area with a function in New Orleans and asked if he could attend, so I said certainly he could attend, and he had a great time and really got exposed to that big event. And then we had a good old-fashioned crawfish ball a couple of weeks. John had come in to check on the status of the plant and get a good plant tour and meet with employees at our various locations in the area while we're building the plant. And so we got to learn how to peel crawfish and enjoy good crawfish and some beverages.
You're going to have a plant in Geismar, Louisiana. Your leadership better know how to peel crawfish, right?
Well, I think the crawfish aspect was a major factor on selection of Geismar.
You're probably right. That's great. All right, so plant number one, as we talked about, you're doing 2 facilities, but plant number 1, put on the ships, month-long trip, brought over the levee, just unloaded in Geismar, and now you're well underway in terms of construction. Let's talk about the construction of the 2 facilities, a little bit about the schedule, when you plan to be operational, what's your peak construction look like, what's your total investment going to be once both plants are up and running?
Sure, yeah, our total investment is $1.1 billion for the 2 plants. As we had talked right before the break, we've got the first plant well underway. Construction's in progress at the plant site. All of the equipment is here. As of December 29th, the last big piece of equipment came over our bridge. So that is going to be progressing as far as completion of construction by the end of this year, and we plan to be starting up at the end of this year. The second plant, the equipment will just be arriving this month. We'll be putting it all together over the next year, and we intend to be starting it up in early 2016.
So pretty much similar construction schedules on both facilities in terms of length of time and that sort of thing, but you'll have plant number 1 sort of up and operational as you begin construction of number 2.
That's correct, and they're identical plants, Tim. They're going to have the exact same layout that they had in Chile.
That's interesting that you rebuild them just like you had them there.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your construction workforce. We talk about workforce development constantly on this show, and we know that skilled construction craft professionals are in great demand in South Louisiana, and that demand is going to continue to grow. Talk a little bit about what is your peak construction number going to be in terms of the craft professionals that are on your site, and give us a little bit of an idea of your experience in terms of what you've seen so far from your craftspeople.
Yeah, and I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve as far as the real heavy work that's coming up. We're at approximately 1,250 contractors building.
That's a lot of jobs out there, Glenn.
Yeah, it is a lot of jobs. In fact, we've done over 2,000 orientations, so that means we've had 2,000 different individuals come and work on this project already, and we still got the rest of the year to work on it. So we've got about 1,000 on a day shift and another 250 on night shift. And we're pretty close to the peak. Maybe we'll have an additional 100 or so employees. But we've got a lot of work to do between now and the end of the year.
And we'll see a similar peak, I suspect, when the second unit goes under construction. Right. Very interesting. In terms of overall safety performance, you satisfied with the culture that's being created out there? I know how important those sort of things are to Methanex as a company, but I know how important they are to Glynn Fontenot as a professional, because it's been something that's sort of been a hallmark of your career from the very early stages.
Well, thank you. But yeah, certainly I think our local workforce here is very much in tune with a safe workplace and know how to do their jobs. We're working with Jacobs Engineering, and I think between Jacobs and Methanex we have state-of-the-art practices that are ensuring that we do everything to prevent people from getting hurt and have a good day's work and go home to their families in good shape.
That's really the goal on any construction project, right? Let's build it on time. Let's build it within budget. Let's build it with some quality, but let's make sure everybody's safe. We're going to take another break. We come back, I want to get into what Methanex is going to look like once it's operational. We're visiting with Glynn Fontenot, excuse me. He's the plant manager of Methanex Geismar, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.
Louisiana Business and Industry Show will be back right after this.
Hi, I'm Lieber Kane with Louisiana Football TV Magazine. Be sure to watch our show every week where we have big-time recruits, college coaches, NFL players, current and former players, and call-ins with your questions. Be sure to catch us every Tuesday night at 6:30 live and 10:30 replayed on Cox 4 in Baton Rouge.
Hello, I'm Eric Edwards with the Livingston Parish Convention and Visitors Bureau. Find out now what's going on in Livingston Parish. We have over 400 nautical miles of waterways. Tee it up at our great world-renowned golf courses. Shop at our antique districts, or come to Bass Pro, our #1 retailer. There's a lot to do in Livingston Parish that you never imagined. It's all happening right here in Livingston Parish. For more information, go online at visitlivingstonparish.com.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from the soccer star to the soccer mom. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Insurance commercials have become unusually funny. We think that's strange because we take auto coverage pretty seriously at Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Of course, when you cover as many vehicles in Louisiana as we do, it doesn't leave a lot of time for silly gimmicks. We're more concerned about what happens to you on the road than any chickens that happen to cross it just to make you chuckle. Louisiana Farm Bureau Insurance. Real service, real people.
At Peak Performance Physical Therapy, we treat the athlete in everyone, from long drivers to unlucky drivers. If your doctor prescribes physical therapy, ask for Peak Performance by name, getting you back in the game of life.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show with Tim Johnson.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. We're visiting with Glynn Fontenot. He's the plant manager of Methanex Geismar. And Glynn, let's talk about, we've kind of talked about the construction process. We sort of talked about what led you to be part of the Methanex Corporation. But once you're up and operational, what's the facility going to look like? Phase 1, right? We know the second plant's coming, but once you're up and operational with the first plant, let's talk about number of employees. Let's talk about all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, Tim, for the first plant, we're going to have approximately 135 permanent employees in the plant that are Methanex employees, and we'll have on the order of another 20 contract employees. We will be producing methanol. That is our only product that our company produces. And the plant, both plants will be world-scale plants producing 1 million tons per year each.
1 million tons of methanol each. Now, and you may or may not know this off the top of your head, but in terms of global capacity, how does that rank that facility?
Yeah, the total market for methanol across the world is about 50 million tons. So we're going to have 2 of those 50 right here. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Methanex is the leader, is the company with the single largest production of methanol.
That's interesting. Now, you mentioned 30 or so contract employees that will be a part of the permanent workforce out there. Does that mean you're going to be doing contract maintenance in the facility?
Yeah, we'll have a blend of contractors performing our maintenance along with some company positions in the maintenance department.
Good stuff. Let's talk about methanol itself, right? I mean, one of the things that you and I have discussed over the years, and you know of our work with these community advisory panels all over Louisiana and the United States, is that it's critical for the chemical industry to connect what it produces to the value that it provides in individuals' daily lives, right? Because if we don't work in the industry, we drive by and we see gates and stacks and pipes and pumps and equipment and things that we might not necessarily connect to something that I use every day. And but that's really why you're there, because you're making products that go into other things that are very useful and create a higher quality of life. So talk about methanol as a product and what we might see its end uses be.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. All of these chemicals that we produce are used because we, as consumers, as citizens, need them. Methanol is really one of the more versatile chemicals because it goes into so many different downstream uses. It's not one that you go to Walmart and you say, I need some methanol to do something with. But since from the time that you woke up this morning sleeping on a bed with a foam mattress and pillow, and you walked around your house with paint on the wall and probably made from some plywood. You may have drank water from a bottled plastic bottled water container.
Today,
Yep, all of those products are made from methanol. Methanol even goes into things like medicines and detergents. What's really the driver that's driving the demand for methanol and really making its comeback is its use in energy applications. So it's being used, we use ethanol in this country, but many other countries are using methanol as opposed to ethanol. It's a very good low temperature burning fuel, along with it's a very clean burning fuel. In fact, you can go into China, we have some pictures of it, and go to a fueling station, not a gas station, and you literally pump methanol into your fuel tank of your vehicle.
And it operates and very efficient, right?
Yeah, for NASCAR fans, that is the fuel that's burned in race cars because it's a little safer, it's a lower burning temperature.
I would suspect, Glenn, that most people don't understand that it's actually used in NASCAR. Now, we got a little over 2 minutes left before we end the show, so I want to talk about a couple of things, and one is, I know that your history and the folks that you've brought on board to be part of your leadership team, very concerned in being engaged in the community. So in about 1 minute, give us an overview of what we might expect from Methanex from a community support and community outreach perspective.
Yeah, what we have within Methanex, our initiative is called social responsibility, and just when you come into a neighborhood and you have resources, you have people and you have financial resources, and a company has both of those, and we want to utilize those to help out in our community. We've already joined a number of organizations, both on the industry side, things like Gabria and LCA, the mutual aid organizations over there in Geismar, the Community Awareness and Emergency Response. We're a member of the CAP there. We've joined the Chamber of Commerce. Had a very successful United Way campaign that I'm really proud of last year for our employees. We had a 4-day campaign.
Even before you were up and running, involved in United Way. That's great.
Absolutely. Just a great way to give back to the local community. We're fortunate enough we joined the Chamber of Commerce, and we're recognized as New Business of the Year earlier this year, so we're very pleased with that.
Lot on your plate. 30 seconds, we know the new plant's coming, but what else might be on the horizon for Methanex?
Well, as I mentioned, the demand for methanol continues to increase, and we see some pretty good outlook for the use of methanol globally in the next many years, and so we're evaluating additional capacity. And one of those options includes a relocation of a third plant from Chile here to Geismar, along with looking at an option in Canada, in North America.
Well, we're going to keep you on our radar screen. We're going to keep you involved in what we're doing. We'll have you back on the show sometime soon.
Thank you, Tim. Always a pleasure to see you.
That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.